Okay, welcome. You are Business Communication and Technology, and for the new students who've just joined this class, both classes, I teach two of these classes, both classes have voted on switching to Cambridge IGCSE or Pre-ACE Business Studies, and that's what we're going to be following. The book is Cambridge IGCSE and O-Level Business Studies 5th edition by Karen Borrington and Peter Stimson. You will all have handouts by the time this video is posted. If not, definitely by the next class, because the handouts are already done. They just need to be printed, and you will be following along with your handouts to finish. You'll be following along in these videos to finish your handouts. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Section 1, Understanding Business Activity. Just check time. Understanding Business Activity. So we have 5 chapters. We're going to start with chapter 1, Business Activity, then we're going to move on through the next 4 chapters after that. So, business activity. We are going to be talking about what does a business do? What actually qualifies a transaction as being a business transaction? So we're going to discuss the concepts of needs, wants, scarcity, and opportunity cost. We're going to discuss the importance of specialization, which is tested quite frequently, the purpose of business activity, and the concept of adding value and how added value can be increased. That's another very highly tested component of this syllabus. So let us continue. The economic problem. Needs, wants, scarcity, and opportunity cost. So right away in your packets, before we even start anything else, you're going to be doing activity 1.1. On the first page, after the page where you put your name and your student ID number, activity 1.1 has you make lists of A, your needs. What do you actually need? Things that you think are necessary for living. You make that decision. I'm not going to give you any hints. It's up to you to write down what you think your needs are. And B, the second list will be your wants. Things you would like to be able to buy and own. The book gives an example. It says for your needs list, you might include clean water. For your wants list, you might include a luxury house. So that's up to you. Again, you're just watching this video, but in class you're going to be filling out activity 1.1, and it is graded. When you're finished, and we're back to this video, what do you notice about your 2 lists? Probably the really important items are on the needs list: water, clothing for warmth and protection, food, and some form of housing or shelter. And on your wants list, that will be up to you and your interests and tastes. But you could probably have written a very long list indeed. Do you already own all of the items on your wants list? If you do, then you must be very lucky and very rich. Most people in the world cannot afford to buy everything they want because our wants are unlimited. In many countries, some people cannot afford to buy the things they need, and they are likely to be very poor. Why are there so many wants and needs that we cannot satisfy? Why are millions of people living in poverty in countries all around the world? Most people will answer these questions by saying because there is not enough money. Is the real economic problem caused by a shortage of money? An example may help to show you why more money is not the answer to the problem of many people's wants and needs not being satisfied. These are 3 definitions. You need to be writing these down for your exams. You're going to need to write these down so you have space in your packets. Definitions to learn. A need is a good or service essential for living. A want is a good or service which people would like to have, but which is not essential for living. People's wants are unlimited. The economic problem. There exists unlimited wants, but limited resources to produce the goods and services to satisfy those wants. This creates scarcity. Let's stop for a second and think about that. Once you've had enough water to drink, you've had enough food to eat, you have clothes on your back, you have a place to sleep at night, your needs are filled. You know, you're done with that part. But the wants, you want a new book bag, you want some new shoes, you want some new clothes, you just want, there's always another want along the line. A new video game system, new car. You know, you have a car, now you want a truck. You have a truck, now you want an SUV. You have an SUV, now you want a plane. You know, so on and so forth. So there's unlimited wants. And the problem is there's only a certain amount of resources on planet Earth to make all of those wants. So we cannot get everything we want, despite even if we have all the money in the world. And we're going to discuss that a little bit more. So here we have a case study. Be very comfortable with these case studies. This is how every business class is taught, especially at the university level. Lots and lots and lots of case studies. So, in this case study, the government of a small country is worried about large numbers of people who cannot afford the basic needs of life. Even those citizens with more money are always complaining that the country is not producing enough of the luxuries that they want to buy. The government decides to solve these problems by printing more banknotes, doubling everyone's incomes. Yikes. And we'll discuss why I said yikes, in class. Has the government solved the economic problem of the country? Are there now more goods for the people to buy? More houses, more schools, more cars, improved standard of living for the population? The answer to all of these questions is no. Printing more money does not produce more goods and services. It will just lead to prices rising, so more goods cannot be afforded. You will just pay more for the same amount of goods. So printing money is not the answer. And having a lot of money or banknotes is not the answer. The economic problem, the real cause. This is very important and you need to pay attention to this slide. If you forget it, don't forget, just rewind it, rewatch it. The real cause of the shortage or scarcity of goods and services is that there are not enough factors of production to make all of the goods and services that the population needs and wants. There are 4 factors of production. Land. This term is used to cover all of the natural resources provided by nature and includes fields and forests, oil, gas, metals, and other mineral resources. Labor. This is the number of people available to make products. Capital. This is the finance, machinery, and equipment needed for the manufacture of goods. Enterprise. This is the skill and risk-taking ability of the person who brings the other resources or factors of production together to produce a good or service. For example, the owner of a business. These people are called entrepreneurs. In any one country and in the world as a whole, these factors of production are limited in supply, as there is never enough land, labor, capital, or enterprise to produce all of the needs and unlimited wants of a whole population. There is an economic problem of scarcity. Scarcity is in red. That is a word you need to know. So we have 2 more definitions that you need to learn. We have factors of production are those resources needed to produce goods or services. There are 4 factors of production and they are in limited supply. Scarcity is the lack of sufficient products to fulfill the total wants of the population. Remember, there are unlimited wants, so there will always be scarcity. And this shows it perfectly. There are unlimited wants, there are limited resources, which equals scarcity. And you don't even have to think too hard about this one. Let's say we all want, we all want our own private jets. Let's say we all have the money to buy our own private jets. There's not enough jet fuel, jet engines, metal to give every single person. Even if we all had the money to afford it, there's still not enough resources and labor to create all of those jets. There's just not enough. There's no way everybody, even if we all somehow became, multimillionaires, we cannot all get the jet, even if we can afford it. There's still going to be a problem of scarcity. There's unlimited wants, but there are limited resources. And that is not country specific, that is around the entire world. Limited resources, the need to choose. We make choices every day. We have to, as we have limited resources, but so many wants. We therefore have to decide which wants we will satisfy and which we will not. All choices involve giving something up. This leads to opportunity cost. Notice it's in red. Should I take a bus to school or use the money for a new pen to write clear business studies notes? Do I buy a new pair of trainers, sneakers? This is a British textbook. Do I buy a new pair of trainers or sneakers, or spend the money on a new smartphone? We do not have the resources to satisfy all our wants. So the next best alternative that we give up becomes our opportunity cost. This problem of what to give up exists not only for consumers like us, but for governments and businesses too. In making choices, we need to consider carefully the opportunity cost to make sure it is not worth more to us than the item we are buying. Think about even companies that have seemingly all the money in the world. Look at Apple. Apple makes phones, Apple makes computers, make the Apple Watch. Apple doesn't make shoes, Apple doesn't make clothing. There's certain things that Apple makes, but they cannot make everything. They do have to give up some items. Apple tried making a video game system. If you didn't hear about that, look that up. That was, I believe, in the 90s when they tried making a video game system. It did not work. Once again, they had to give that up to focus on their computers, which were actually selling. So that's a good little example. So your opportunity cost, you need to write this down, is the next best alternative given up by choosing another item. You will be writing these down in your packets. Here's an interesting slide. So here we have 3 different examples of opportunity costs. For an individual, me and you, what do you choose? Do you want to go on vacation? Or do you want to buy a car? If they cost the same amount of money, which one do you choose if you could only choose one? You only have that set of money. Do you buy that vacation or do you buy that car? The individual chooses to buy the holiday in this example, so the car becomes the opportunity cost. In order to go on that vacation, that car will have to be given up. Business, machine A or machine B. In that example, the company decides to buy machine A, so machine B becomes the opportunity cost. Government have big decisions to make. Does the government build a new road or a new school? If the government chooses to build the road, the school becomes the opportunity cost. So even governments have to choose one or the other. The government does not have an unlimited amount of money and resources. They have to make that same decision just like we would have to make those smaller decisions. So, we're going to go ahead and start with this economic problem. Remember, the 4 factors of production. You have land, including the natural resources, labor, the people to work, capital, the money and equipment needed, and enterprise, the entrepreneur who came up with the business idea. There are limited amounts of all 4 of these, which causes an economic problem because there are unlimited wants and only a limited amount of resources to create those wants. That leads to scarcity. There's not enough of everything for everyone. Therefore, choice is necessary. Even if you have all the money in the world, you still need to make a choice. And that choice leads to opportunity costs. Whatever you gave up to make that decision. Choice could even mean space. Even if you have all the money in the world to buy all the cars you want and you have a garage that can hold 100 cars, Once you get to car number 99, you need to make that decision. That last car, you can only choose one more car to fit in before you need to start building another garage. All right, so there will be an opportunity cost. And do you want to spend all that time and effort building another garage just to hold more cars if you already have 100? The importance of specialization. The best use of limited resources. Reminder, this is British English, so specialization is spelled with an S and not a Z as it would be spelled in American English. Checking time. In all societies, the factors of production are in limited supply. It is therefore important to use these resources in the most efficient ways possible. The ways in which these resources are used have changed greatly in the last 250 years. Very few products are now made just by the efforts and skills of one worker. Nearly all workers specialize in particular skills, and many businesses specialize in one type of product. Specialization is now very common because specialized machinery and technologies are now widely available. Increasing competition means that businesses have to keep costs low. And most people recognize that higher living standards can result from being specialized. So, another definition, you need to write this down. Specialization occurs when people and businesses concentrate on what they are best at. Easy example. LeBron James is not playing football. He specializes, he concentrates on basketball. That's why he's one of the best in basketball. Quick, easy way to look at specialization. So here we have a case study. This is how Joe Sharma, a carpenter, went about making a table 250 years ago. Joe cuts the wood. He assembles the table. He polishes the table by hand. And then Joe delivers the table on his cart. What do you notice about these methods of production? You can see that Joe did everything himself, including the cutting of the timber and the sale and delivery of the finished table. Production was very low. Compare this with typical modern production methods. 250 years later, Jack Sharma owns the family business. This is how production is organized. 1. The wood for 20 tables is cut by a specialist machine. 2. Carpenters assemble the tables. 3. The tables are finished in the polishing department. And 4. A transport business collects the tables to deliver them to the furniture retailers, which now allows them to produce multiple tables per week, whereas Joe can only produce one table per week. So you can see how by specializing with a specialist machine, everybody working in the polishing department, that's what they do. They focus on polishing. They have carpenters that just focus on assembling the tables. You have delivery drivers that just focus on the driving. Everybody specializes in their own part of this table making operation. Specialization and the division of labor. Jack Sharma, and that's the second one at the bottom, is using the principles of specialization and division of labor, also in red. He is dividing up the making of tables into different jobs and making each worker a specialist at just one task. Division of labor has advantages and disadvantages. Advantages: workers are trained in one task and specialize in this. This increases efficiency and output. Less time is wasted moving from one workbench to another. It is quicker and cheaper to train workers as fewer skills need to be taught. Disadvantages, however: workers can become bored doing just one job and efficiency might fall. If one worker is absent and no one else can do the job, production might be stopped. So there are some disadvantages to the division of labor. So, division of labor is when the production process is split up into different tasks and each worker performs one of these tasks. It is a form of specialization. So we're dividing up the entire process of making tables into different pools of labor, and it's a form of specialization. So you have another activity in your workbook. So once you're done writing down that definition, you'll have a space. In that space, using another product, for example, bread or clay pots, explain with simple illustrations how division of labor or specialization could be used to make the product. And B, once you're done with that, and yes, I will actually grade even if it's simple. So don't make it complex. Do a simple drawing. Make sure I can understand how the division of labor or specialization made the product that you decided on. And B, explain the possible advantages and or disadvantages of using division of labor or specialization of labor to the business you chose. So for that one, you are specifically talking about the business you chose, which might not have the same advantages or disadvantages as the case we just saw with Joe and Jack Sharma. So the purpose of business activity. We have identified the following issues. People have unlimited wants. The 4 factors of production, the resources needed to make goods, are in limited supply. Scarcity results from limited resources and unlimited wants. Choice is necessary when resources are scarce. This leads to opportunity cost. Specialization improves the efficient use of resources. So far, as you may have noticed, we have hardly mentioned businesses, and yet this is the purpose of this book. Where does business activity fit into the ideas we have already looked at? The purpose of all businesses is to combine the factors of production to make products which will satisfy people's wants. These products can either be goods, physical items such as cars and shoes that we can touch and see, or they can be insurance, such as, they can be services such as insurance, tourism, or banking. Businesses can be small, just one person for example, or large. Businesses employ thousands of people with operations in many different countries. Businesses can be privately owned or owned by the state and or government. They can be owned by one person or by thousands of shareholders. Whatever their size and whoever owns them, all businesses have one thing in common. They combine factors of production to make products which satisfy people's wants. Remember those factors of production. There are those 4: land, labor, capital, and enterprise. So, finally, after all of that, we finally arrive at the definition of businesses, and what they do is that they combine factors of production to make products, goods, and services. So a service counts as a product, which satisfy people's wants. So here we go. We're showing how businesses in all sectors of industry. We're going to discuss sectors, but later. But there's a good little hint. Businesses in all sectors of industry produce goods and services by combining factors of production. Farms. Obviously, land is a big portion of farming. Labor, right? Whether it's you're doing the labor by hand, or you're using machinery, you're using capital, like that tractor in the picture. And enterprise, somebody needs to start that farm. Somebody needs to turn, growing vegetables in a patch of land or fruits in a patch of land into an actual business and start selling them. Factories, land, there has to be some place that factory is located. Labor, the people working in the factory. The machinery that's being used in the factory. Also capital, all of that specialized equipment and the money that's invested into creating the factory and keeping the factory running. And enterprise, once again, somebody has to come up with the idea. Office workers, office, land. Office has to be built somewhere. There has to be some physical location for the office. We can even start discussing, working from home, but for now, let's just leave it as a traditional office. Labor, office workers, people are working in that office, whether they're working physically at the office or at home, they're working. Labor. What did we say? We said land, labor, capital. All of the office building itself, we have the capital that goes into all of the items needed to do the office work. We're thinking of the computers, the servers, the hard drives, cloud computing software, antivirus software, all of that. And then obviously the capital, somebody has to come up with whatever the business idea is that is operating out of that office. So we have a question here. What would life be like without business activity? In simple, undeveloped economies, businesses do not exist. Everyone attempts to do something for themselves. They are self-sufficient. With their own plot of land and by their own efforts, such as hunting, they attempt to survive and produce enough for their own needs. This is a very basic existence, and living standards are low. Let's go back to like caveman era, right? We're thinking of, you just need to survive. You're just trying to get enough food to survive. You're not selling anything. You're not doing anything. You're not combining factors of production. By a slow process of specialization, people began to concentrate on what they were best at. They then traded those goods for others made by people who had different skills. In this way, businesses began to be formed, and trade and exchange of goods expanded. In today's world, most people specialize by working in one job for a weekly wage. With this money, they're able to purchase a wide range of goods and services produced by many different businesses, specializing in different products. Business activity, therefore, combines scarce factors of production to produce goods and services, produces goods and services which are needed to satisfy the needs and wants of the population, and business activity employs people as workers and pays them wages to allow them to consume products made by other people. Added value, I think we're gonna wait till the next video. We're approaching the 28-minute mark. I don't want to go into added value because that is a pretty deep subject, and it does get tested a lot, so I want to make sure I dedicate at least an entire video. I don't want to cut it in half, so we're going to stop this video right here. You have your workbooks. It's not going to be graded until we reach the end of the chapter. However, know that this will be graded, and then when your test comes, your test will be based on these very definitions and everything else you're doing in that activity packet. So work on your worksheets, raise your hand, ask me if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next video for your next homework assignment. That's it. Bye.